Everyone. Thank you all for joining us today for Lincoln Charter School Board of Directors meeting for May 7th, 2020. I am going to call this meeting to order. I am Aquinnah Washington. I'm the board president. Is Julie Swope here?
Yes, I am.
Miss Renita Franklin, our vice president?
Present.
Is Marie Burgos here?
Present.
Mr. Kyle Moore?
Here.
Mrs. Camille Neal, our secretary? Is Mrs. Neal here?
She has her mute on.
I see her. Camille, you have
Here. Okay.
Takes a little getting used to. And then now I'm going to call to order our essential staff, our principal, Dr. Hart.
Present, Madam President.
Is Mrs. Sipe here?
I'm here.
Mrs. Clark?
Yeah.
Is Mrs. Clark here?
She's here.
Clark, you have to take your...
No, I know. It wouldn't come off. I'm here.
Mrs. Murray?
Miss Mary's not in attendance. She's viewing on Facebook. YouTube.
Yes, sir. Mrs. Smith?
Present.
Mrs. Cusack? She's absent.
She's absent, Madam President.
And Mr. Dively?
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
Madam President, please be advised that Miss Burgos has to take her camera off to confirm that it is actually her. She confirmed her voice, but she has to act in order to be officially on the record as present. She has to show her face.
Yes, sir.
You got to reconfirm, Madam Miss Burgos. You got to reconfirm that it's you.
I was eating, but it's me.
Copy. Now you confirm, Madam President.
Awesome. So all of our Lincoln Charter School board members are confirmed, as well as our essential staff at Lincoln Charter School is affirmed. Do we have any guests viewing with us today? I know we are viewing on Facebook Live. Am I correct?
Yes, we are, Madam President. We are on Facebook Live, and we are doing a YouTube stream to document this meeting as an official school board business.
Wonderful. So we have several guests joining with us virtually today, which is excellent. Do we have any public or staff comment this evening?
No, ma'am, Madam President. There are no public or staff comments that was presented to the administrative team at this time.
Wonderful. Okay, so we will go into our approval for our board meeting. And we will move along to, I believe we're going to move into new business. Am I correct, Dr. Hart?
Yes, ma'am, Madam. Yes, ma'am, Madam President. We're moving to new business because there may be some resolution items that may move up to resolution once we discuss them in new business, and there will be no need to approve all of the board resolutions, and we may have some additional resolutions at this time.
Wonderful. Okay, so we are going to move to agenda item number 5, which is a discussion items of our new business. We have a budget presentation by Mr. Tom Taylor of Rapice and Taylor, as well as our administrative leadership team. Mr. Taylor, are you with us this evening?
Good morning, I'm here. Or good evening. I'm just checking in.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Taylor.
Good evening, Mr. Taylor.
How are you
Good
doing
evening.
today?
Okay.
Wonderful.
Ariel, can you please share the budget proposal that Tom sent us with the whole team so everyone can see?
Yep, let me get that on the screen.
Okay. Tom, once he puts it up on the screen, you can go with the budget proposal. You can just start talking about it, Tom, and then he'll pull it up when it changes.
So just to give the board some information, this is a version 1 of the budget. So we're not asking you to approve the budget tonight. We have to do that in June. However, the administration, along with mostly all the staff, have formulated a budget for Building A and potentially Building B. Just to give you some highlights, the combined number of students for this budget is 932. So it's requesting an additional roughly 100 students for the new grades. Overall, what our mission to do was to basically formulate a budget for all the needs for both buildings with staff, students, instruction, programming, and I believe we did that. We are showing a loss on Building B, which is the new building. Building A has a profit, but overall, we're showing a surplus of $25,442 for this version. We are still going to go back and refine some numbers before the June board meeting, but I believe Mr. Hart, myself, and administration are happy that we are at a positive surplus for our first version. And that, we asked for more things, but we went back and said, can we wait another year for that? We knew CARES money, which is possibly coming in the next few weeks. The application should open shortly. It's supposed to today, it didn't. But that should fund some of the items that we need. So overall, for the board, we just wanted to let you know that first version that you have is for the number of students that I mentioned with a positive 25,442. And as you can see, Ariel scrolling down, that is the wants by everybody. We asked every department to put everything they need or want in the budget. So you can see it was pretty detailed, which the staff gave us. And Mr. Hart and his administrative team went through that. And some of the stuff, like I said, we deferred. You can see it in different colors there. But overall, I thought everybody did well with this budget for the first pass. Anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. I don't currently have any questions. I don't know if any other board members have any questions, or if any Dr. Hart or the administration team have any further additions to the information that you shared.
Madam President, you got go through the roll and make sure everybody confirmed that they have reviewed the budget and that they have no further questions. Then after that, I will add the additional information that I have.
Yes, sir. 1 second. So I'm going to go through and confirm that everyone, Lincoln Charter School board members, have had a chance to review the budget that was presented to them. Ms. Julie Swope, have you had a chance to review the budget?
Yes, I have.
Ms. Renita Franklin?
I have reviewed and I don't have any questions.
Great. Ms. Marie Burgos?
I have also reviewed and I also have no questions. I actually sat through their system, so I'm really impressed. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Mr. Kyle Moore?
Yes, I reviewed. I have no questions. Thank you.
Wonderful. And Aquinnah Washington, I do not have any questions as well. And yes, I've had a chance to review the budget.
Thank you, Madam President. I do appreciate it. Please be advised, along with Ms. Vanessa Cusack and the team, this was a very tedious task because of us not knowing whether we're going to get Building B as an actual site for students. We had to actually plan as if the expansion is going to go through. But we're putting a lot of things within that budget with not knowing if the expansion is going to go through or not. So it was a lot of work because it's technically starting up a new program and making sure that we have enough students versus revenue, as Mr. Taylor stated. Building B is going to be at a loss because it's going to pull from Building A, because Building B is not going to be pulling any type of major revenue off in its initial starts, because we're pulling 100 kids from Building 100 fourth grade kids that are now fifth graders out of one building, putting them in another building. They will pull revenue, but it won't be to full capacity until we're at least year 2. We'll start seeing a positive revenue. But as Mr. Taylor stated, it was a good pass. We looked at salaries, but I'll let Tom talk about salaries, just an overview of the salaries and what we did with the salaries for staff, new positions that we looked at for the staff as well, which you'll hear from Ms. Smith later on in the presentation about the new positions and things. But for a first run, Ms. Cusack did a great job, along with Ms. Mary, in looking at it and making sure that things were right, and that we put in things that weren't in there last year that are in there this year. So it was a good comprehensive effort from the administrative leadership team and the financial leadership team, both external with Tom Taylor and Repeace and Taylor, and Miss Mary and Miss Cusack internally. So we're very happy with the first pass. As Tom stated, we have some things we need to clean up hopefully by the June meeting, we will have heard from New York City and know a definite on where we're moving for the 2020-2021 school year.
And just to add to Mr. Hart's comments, we are growing into building big with 100 students. But the way we built this budget, just by chance, if we don't get building big, we can take that out right away, and we would have a positive budget right then and there. We build it so it would be easy to move things back and forth. So, but we're hoping we get building big.
Yes, thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. So, like I said, when Tom and I looked at the budget, we wanted to make sure that we were able to snatch those things out and it not cause any type of major confusion to the budget and the way the budget looks. So, great job, Tom. Great job, Ms. Cusack, Ms. Mary, Syke, Godley, Clark, Smith. You guys did a great job. Appreciate it. Mary.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Tom, can you talk about the salaries and where we did with the salary budget? We don't have to talk numbers, but just basically what we did with the salary and the new positions, the way we budgeted.
We basically did a 3% budget or increase across the board, adding new positions to be similar to where they came into with other positions that are similar to there. We assumed anyone that was new would get a hybrid of family and singles. We did about $20,000 for health insurance. So we basically feel that we're covered with any new position, and then, like I said, a 3% increase across the board.
And if that 3% was indicative of what, can you just explain what the 3% of the board knows why that 3% came about?
It's basically like a cost of living increase. It's probably a little higher, but that's similar to what we've been doing over the course of the past few years, just trying to start with a 3%, make sure we can cover it.
Thank you, Tom. So although the national average was more so 5 to 7, we thought 3 was a safe number for cost of living increase, just making sure that we keep it consistent with what we've been doing. We didn't go with the higher number. We went with a middle ground. We've been doing 2 to 3%, but we thought that was safe just in case we have to pull out. And it was affordable for us because I was going to go without the 3% this year. Tom talked me into it because I wanted to be able to afford the new positions. But after some finagling and switching around, we were able to afford the 3% COLA across the board and able to present that in the new budget and salaries.
And also, it may sound conservative, but with all the things that are going on right now, some spending may go down besides COVID. Regular spending may go down because of the fourth quarter. So that could hurt our rates. We kept them flat, but that could hurt. So 3% is a good number for where we're at right now.
Yeah. So what Mr. Taylor's talking about is the per pupil allotment as far as districts on how we get our funding. So that rate could go down. That rate could adjust across the board as we get under this COVID thing. There's going to be federal money coming, but we are a charter school, and sometimes we're not in the mix that other people's are as far as getting that funding. So we have to operate as if that we're just going to get our per pupil allotment, and we don't know what that funding stream is going to be. So we were very conservative in this budget, this first run. We got to make another pass at it, as Mr. Taylor talked about. We do have, it was sent to the board, $390,000 plus as for the CARES money. I did meet with the administrative team, and we have we're going to put that money into technology and use for next year. We feel that the way the program, you'll hear from the other staff members, the other leadership team members, the way that the program is going with digital focus, digital learning, we're going to keep that going. We're not going to stop. So now we have an online program. We're going to keep rolling with it and make sure that we keep those platforms because this is our new norm. And the fact that this is our new norm, we're not going to forget about it. And after all of this is over, just go back to doing the same old, same old. We're going to keep rolling, making sure we remain digitally focused and having those online platforms for us to use. But of course, those things have to be funded, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Hart.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you to our leadership team and Mrs. Cusack and Miss Mary and everyone that assisted with this. Does anyone else have any further questions? I take that as a no. We will move along to our next item on our new business, our PennServ Plan Services Agreement for our new retirement management process for our new employees. Dr. Hart.
Thank you, Madam President. I do apologize. There was a parent calling back from our home business earlier. I do apologize. Our pen serve agreement for our retirement management. Tom, would you like to talk about that process, please? Mr. Taylor?
Yep, real quick, basically it's an alternate plan to PESERS, which almost all schools have switched to, and we're planning to switch to. The real highlight is 5% employer contribution, 5% employee contribution, effective for all new employees July 1st going forward. And basically it's the same plan that every other charter did in the state. The one good thing is every employee is 100% vested, the new employees from day one. So you don't have to wait 7 years, 3 years, so they're vested. It's their money after day one versus PESERS going in at almost 35% next year. 5% is a significant savings for us. And that's where all the schools have gone, for the past 3 years.
So, Governing Board, Madam President, Madam Vice, this is what, like as Tom says, what a lot of schools are going to. It's going to save a significant amount of money. It's difference between 33.5 and 5% employee match. It's going to save us some money on the road. Unfortunately, the unfortunate part about it is that everybody that is currently in the program will remain in PESERS. So these will be all new employees as of July 1, as Mr. Taylor stated. So moving forward, we'll see some significant changes. Hopefully, we won't have too much turnaround. We don't have too much turnover, because that's the way that we'll see it, because it will be new employees coming in. The governor does have on the floor that they would like to see all new teachers start at, was it 45, Tom? Is that the new rate, 45 for all new employee teachers coming in?
That's what they're talking about, yes.
So they're talking about all new teachers starting at 45. So we stay conservative in knowing that if that bill passes, all new employees must start at 45, and all employees who are not at 45 must be taken to 45 in order to be compliant. So we kept some wiggle room in there to make sure we save some money on the back end. So in case that bill passes, we'll be able to afford that transition. Madam President,
Okay, great. Yes, just taking my mute off. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Hart about the Penn Serve Plan Services Agreement for our new teachers or new employees coming in?
I do. Dr. Hart, how many employees, or shall I say, how many teachers does that actually impact as far as to 45?
We don't know quite. We don't have any pretty much new teachers. Maybe around, I think, when me and Tom looked at it, maybe 6 to 7.
6 or 7 tops?
Yeah, six or seven tops. It wasn't many when we looked at it. And we started 42.5.
Yeah, they're in like the 43, 42, 44 range. So they're not.
Okay, so it's not a real big impact. Okay.
No, ma'am.
Correct.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am. Yeah,
Thank
it's not
you.
no, ma'am. It's not a big impact of it. And with the new positions that we put at 42.5, but as you said, we had to keep some wiggle room in there somewhere, because if this bill passes, then we have to jump. So that's why we were very conservative in the way, we took down. And what we did, you see some of the items in blue, those are items that if I need to remove them, I will remove them, because they're necessities, but they're also commodities that I could do without and transfer them to another comprehensive field.
Okay, thank you.
Right,
That's all I have, Madam President.
All right, Madam President, you have to take roll and make sure everybody's confirmed.
Thank you. Ms. Renita Franklin.
I have understood and confirmed.
Thank you. Ms. Julie Swope.
Yep, understood and confirmed.
Ms. Marie Burgos.
Understood and confirmed. Thank you.
Mr. Kyle Moore.
Understood and confirmed.
And I'm Acknowledged Washington, and I understood and I am confirmed. We will move along to our next agenda item, which is a staffing update on resignations and program vacancies by Mrs. Smith.
Thank you.
Good evening, Governing Board. I'm going to provide an update on open positions, and I would like to first share that we have one resignation due to retirement for employee Denise Mundis, who has served with Lincoln Charter School as an instructional coach for almost 19 years, and she has decided to step away to retire. So we are that position will become open. In addition to open positions, we also, which these positions are posted on our website, classroom teacher, ESL teacher, special education teacher, special education director, custodian or maintenance position, and technology. Those are the open positions for the 2020-2021 school year.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Smith. I just have a question for you, if I may.
Sure.
What techniques are we utilizing to advertise these positions to ensure that they're filled?
Okay, so I did share that we have positions posted on our website. In addition, there is one database, PA Educator, which is the primary database that educators use in the state. So we have a membership with PA Educator that is for educators when they go through their programs through school. They are normally directed to that website, and so we utilize that website to retrieve applicant information. In addition, we've done something in addition this year with everything going on with the pandemic. I want to say thank you to Ms. Clark and Dr. Hart for assisting in the process. We actually are posted on 2 billboards around town as recent as May the 1st.
That's awesome.
Yes. So there is one billboard posted. I rode by it today at Carlisle in Philadelphia. And that billboard actually highlights the fact that we have enrollment for students. There is another billboard that is posted by York Hospital. Ms. Clark, if you can help me, I don't know the exact street. And that is a digital billboard. And that billboard highlights the fact that we have open positions. In addition, we have spoken of this before, and so we're in negotiations right now, as recent as a conversation this afternoon with Indeed, which is a database where employers can post. They have some options of posting free. We're looking at some of the other highlights that you can get with contracts with Indeed, and Ms. Dr. Hart and Ariel Carrasquillo have received that information that we're going to go through to make some determination and present to the board. So those are our main sources.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you to you as well as Ms. Clark for the billboards. But thank you for giving us an update on our resignations and our staff program vacancies. I don't know if any of the other board members have any comments or questions.
You got to call roll, Madam President.
This is Marie.
Yes.
They're also on our web page, aren't they?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry if I neglected to say that they are on our website.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm going to do roll call.
Madam President, real quick before we get into any individuals, when you're presenting or confirming, you must turn your camera on in order to count it as official.
I'll turn it on.
No, just it's only when you're speaking or you're confirming. You just have to turn it on just to confirm and speak. You can turn it back off, but you have to turn on to confirm once Madam President or Madam Vice calls roll. If your mic, you have to confirm to assure that it is actually you. Madam President, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Hart. And so for our staffing update, resignations, and program vacancies, Ms. Renita Franklin.
I acknowledge, approve, and that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Julie Swope.
Yes, I acknowledge and approve. If you need a second, I'll second it.
Ms. Marie Burgos.
I'll acknowledge, approve, and third it.
Mr. Kyle Moore.
Acknowledge and approve.
And Aquinas Washington, I acknowledge and approve. Moving along to our next item on our agenda, our curriculum update for grades 5th through 6th expansion and our enrichment. And that's Mr. Diley and Miss Sype.
Yes, I was given the privilege of working with the curriculum, so Ms. Sype can talk about calendars later. So with the curriculum this year, we are just going to be purchasing a 5th and 6th grade curriculum for reading and math. What we were planning on March 16th was actually going to be our date. We had brought in Pearson, which develops a couple of different products, but we were using their math, which is Envisions math, which goes from grades K to 8. And we were looking at 2 programs. One was called My View for ELA, which runs K to 5, and the other one is My Perspective, which is also ELA. That runs to 12. Those kind of lead into each other. So My View stops at 5th, but My Perspective picks it up in 6th. So our plan was to pilot. Our pilot was actually to begin that Monday when we came back, March 16th, but because of the closure of school, we were not actually allowed to begin that pilot. All the materials are in the building that we were going to be using, but like I said, we were unable to pilot it. Our teachers that were going to pilot it were all trained. They were excited to begin that pilot. So that was kind of our plan to end the school year, and then our plan was to kind of roll into buying a curriculum for K through 6, leading into hopefully 7th and 8th grade. So for right now, we're just going to go with the 5th and 6th grade curriculum in those areas. So again, the math version is called Envisions, and then ELA 5th grade is called My View, and the 6th grade for ELA is called My Perspective. The pilot was to be done in, actually, there was a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teacher that were going to be piloting this program. We did have Pearson come in, kind of talk to us about 2 programs that they provide. The ones that we decided to kind of pilot and go with sounded a lot more of what we were kind of looking for. It provided a lot more practice than what the other program provided, very much small group centered. It actually provided a whole lot of small group guidance for our teachers, and we thought that was really appropriate and what was actually needed for our staff, is they really need that small group guidance on how to run small groups, what small groups look like. So that's kind of why we decided that we were going to go ahead and pilot these 2 programs, which, like I said, we're going to be done at the end of the school year, hopefully leading into curriculum for all K to 6 students, K to 5 students for next year. Because we weren't able to go and pilot anything, that's kind of why we just decided with the 5th and 6th grade curriculum for next year and not to purchase curriculum for the whole school. Just because, we want to make sure that it's working. So with this, we'll be able to see the 5th and 6th grade, how the 5 and 6 works. Plus, we'll still be able to pilot that 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and that 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade classrooms with reading and math. Because like I said, we have the materials is sitting in the building. The teachers were trained on how to use it. So they'll probably just need a little bit of a refresher, and then they'll be able to go ahead and pilot those 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade curriculum, hopefully at the beginning of next year when we decide or we're able to reopen. So that's kind of the update on the curriculum that we're looking at purchasing for next year.
Mr. Darby, can you talk to the governing board on how this curriculum will have an impact on the budget for next year?
I think when Ms. Sype ran the numbers, I think we're looking at the curriculum. Again, it's all the materials, so it's 120 for math, 120 for reading for both grades. So we're looking at 480 pieces of student material plus all the teacher material plus the teacher training. I think for both grades for reading and math, I think we're looking about $75,000 for all that material to be brought into our building. Again, that goes with the training. There's an online component, so that's the online component. So that way, if we have to do distance learning again, the students can access all that stuff online. They don't necessarily need to be sent stuff all the time. It's all online, and they're able to do it. So that 75,000 encompasses everything that math, ELA teachers, and the students will actually need to provide all that support.
Thank you, Mr. Darley. Madam President, Madam Vice Governing Board, that is all that we have about the curriculum. We were talking about it as far as the expansion, making sure that we plan for the expansion. So whether York City gives us the go-ahead or not, we are ready to move forward, both not just budgetary-wise, but academic-wise. We wanted to, on behalf of the leadership team, we wanted to show what we're looking for to do. Now, if we don't get the expansion, of course, we're going to still purchase this because we're going to use it as enrichment material in order to push our fifth graders up to sixth, our fourth graders up to fifth. So there'll still be information. We didn't purchase up to grade 8 because we didn't want to push that far, not knowing about the expansion. So with that being said, we just purchased up to grade 6 right now, but there will be some other financial implications to the budget if we are approved to go up to grade 8, then we're looking at got 7 and 8 through this budgetary year coming up. But that could wait till the 21-22 school year. Mr. Dowdy and Ms. Sipe did confirm, along with Ms. Clark, did confirm that could work to another academic year. So it won't be that major impact to the budget.
Okay.
That's all we have.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dively.
You're
and
very
thank you,
welcome.
Dr. Hart.
You're welcome, Madam President.
I will go through our acknowledgments, approvals, and any questions. Ms. Renita Franklin.
I acknowledge and approve.
Ms. Julie Swope.
Yes, I acknowledge and approve.
Ms. Marie Burgos.
Acknowledge and approve. Thank you.
Mr. Kyle Moore.
Acknowledge and approve.
And I'm Equina Washington, and I acknowledge and I approve. Moving along to our next agenda item, we have the review of our leasing option for technology and services update by Ariel.
Ariel, before I give you the floor, please be advised that Mr. Taylor will discuss. Once you talk about your area, Mr. Taylor will talk to the governing board about the leasing option because this is something different to our process. We had never leased anything before. We just always purchased outright. So after Mr. Carostillo finishes his presentation, Mr. Taylor will just talk to the governing board about the leasing and how leasing works and how that will work within our budget. Ariel, you got the floor.
Okay, so we have decided, sorry, my screen's a little weird. Okay, so because of everything that's going on, I will say that as an organization and as a school district, even as a program, we have definitely soared every expectation that we could have ever thought of when it comes to parent participation, student participation, even staff participation has been just amazing to see what kind of content and what kind of things that they're doing. With us trying to continue that and create more of a hybrid for next year, especially with that expansion when we get it the 5th and 6th grade, we're looking at doing a take-home day with our devices. So we're looking at getting devices that are mobile-friendly for our students, that are more user-friendly for our students, that interact with our different softwares and different technical platforms or learning management systems, so that way our students will be able to take their work home with them and go back and forth. So we're kind of going to play off of the program idea that they created called BYOD, which is Bring Your Own Device program, but we're going to be providing the devices for them to go back and forth. With that, we looked at a bunch of different options and talked to several vendors, and unfortunately, when talking to several vendors, we discovered that Apple is very robust and very locked down with their products. So what happens is Apple is the only vendor per se that actually allows you to be able to purchase from Apple or to be able to lease multitudes of devices. So if we wanted to purchase or even lease a brand new, non-refurbished or never used device, we have to go directly through Apple Education. So we're jumping over those hoops and getting a organization's license through Apple, so that way we will be able to use the Apple for Education discounts and such. But we're looking at leasing iPads for every student from K to 6th grade now. So that way what will happen is they'll have their normal laptop device for the digital focus program internally within the program, but at the same time we're giving them that iPad so that way they can have that mobile interaction that they can take back and forth. So that's the first lease option. We're also looking at standardizing the department as a whole, because we're really starting to notice the trend in technology lately where a lot of the technology is just being very outdated. And not only outdated, but we're starting to even notice that the outdation era or calculation or statistic is actually lowering. So where it was a device would not be outdated in 3 to 5 years, this device is actually becoming outdated in 1 to 2 years. Apple itself is releasing a device every single year with different features and different things and different bugs that they're fixing. So we're looking to lease devices that will kind of get us onto that train or that boat. So that way, at a longevity standpoint with our program, we don't really have to worry about, okay, this isn't supported anymore, this isn't supported anymore. Now we have to retailer the whole system or the whole program, and we want to create that adaption more fluidly than what we are right now. So the department is actually going through and doing like it's a self-assessment so that way we can figure out how to do this. Myself, Mr. Hart, and the leadership team, we're going through and we're kind of revamping our digital focus model and our digital focus program so that way we can accommodate this new hybrid of kind of like a take-home device and cyber type in-school program, because we are noticing that where I think we had gaps in sitting in seats with students, I think those students that maybe we couldn't reach them at their seat physically, maybe they're getting more attentiveness because of the interaction online. And one of the things I'm going to be doing is looking at a lot of the different data going back and forth with this new program and this new process that we're going through with the current situation, because I'm very curious to see what kind of success we have gone to those specific students that were struggling in class.
Thank you, Mr. Castello. So, governing board, we're just talking about as far as looking at where beforehand it was the process and procedures for us to purchase the items. We are now looking into leasing those items, so those items are under warranty. When these items become outdated, we can turn those items in for the updated versions. So we're just looking into leasing with that. Mr. Taylor, can you talk about the leasing process and how that works with schools and how schools that in your area that you've seen schools lease items and how that works towards the budget for that whole process?
There's really nothing. It's for leases on computers, you're going to basically directly expense it. There may be a security deposit up front, but for leases, for charter schools, and I have a lot of schools that use the iPads in the lower grades, and then even they were using Macs at the time. It's basically directly expensed, and we show that in the budget. That's why the stuff that was in the budget is showing there. We're going to directly expense it. You don't capitalize it like you do other equipment that's over our capitalization policy and depreciated over its useful life. This is directly expensed. Does that make sense?
Does that make sense to everyone? Madam President, you got that?
Yes.
Madam Vice?
Yes, I'll go through the acknowledgments and approvals. Thank you so much, Mr. Taylor. Thank you, Ariel, for explanation of that in regards to the computer leases. As far as acknowledgement approvals and any questions, Ms. Renita Franklin?
No, that's actually a really good idea. I think it'll save us a lot of money. And as you stated before, Dr. Hart, we are a school of technology, so continuing in that lane would just prove that we are doing what we say we are doing. So yes, I definitely concur with that.
Thank you, Madam Vice. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mrs. Franklin. Ms. Julie Swope?
Yes, I concur. I agree. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. Ms. Marie Burgos?
I
very appreciative of what everybody's doing. Ariel, I'm really and truly excited about looking at what is happening with the children that were struggling, and now that they have a lot more one-on-one attention, what's going on with them. So I'm really and truly excited about seeing that result. So thank you for that thoughtfulness, and let's see where we go with them. Thank you.
Madam Vice, if I may, while we have Ms. Burgos on the floor, Ms. Burgos, what we're looking at that trend, not just for the students who have success, but also the students who are struggling as well. Just talking to the administrative team, Ms. Syke, Mr. Dowley, Ms. Clark, we did a lot of home visits today along with the culture and climate team, because we have some students who are not logging on. So this process has to look into not just our students but our parents as well. We have some parents who are not know how to use technology and use these new platforms. So when we're looking at building this program, we have to build this program holistically, and you'll hear from some of the other presentations that as we build these programs, we have to look at not just the students, but look at the parents, those students who are doing well and those students who aren't doing well. Because right now we have over 50% of our students who are not logging in and participating in the online platform, and we want to know why. Is it that I just don't know, I don't have access, or is it that I just don't want to do it? So that's what we're trying to figure out right now. We did a home visit today with the culture and climate team. We're knocking on doors to say, hey, you haven't logged in with what's going on. And so we have some individuals that we put on notice, and we let the parents know that, look, we're taking roles. Some of the letters that you'll see, the site and the team sent out letters saying, hey, your kids are being graded for logging into the computer and making sure that they do this work. These teachers are working hard, putting these lessons up every day. So we want to see this process go. So Madam Burgos, we're working hard to not just look at it from the students aspect, but look at it from the parent aspect and the teachers, because it's new for the teachers as well.
Well, I appreciate that, because we also have to remember that some of these parents are also, just because they can actually be illiterate, the parents themselves. So we're dealing with building not only the student, but we have to build the family and bring them up to a code. So it's a long process, and I understand that, and I'm grateful that you actually realize that it's not just logging in and doing a classroom, but also that some of these parents are first of all, they might be just off and working, and the children are left at home alone. We don't know what's going on in the house, and they might not tell us because they might fear that someone's going to come and take their children if they realize that the children are being left at home alone. So there's a lot of issues going on, and we need to help, if nothing else.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Burgos, and it's ironic that you say that, because that's what Ms. Clark, you can talk. That's what we found out today. We were going to the house, and it was my big sister, and I'm working a double shift, and I don't know how to turn on the computer. So we're seeing a lot of gaps, but we're recognizing those gaps, and as a leadership team, we're going to ensure that we address the holistic child in-house, out-house. It's going to take some time. It's going to take money. It's going to take some patience, and but not just our students, but our teachers as well. Being patient with our teachers and know there's going to be a lot of professional development that we're going to need to implement for the upcoming school year to get everyone comfortable with this online program and this digital-focused instruction. It's kind of disheartening, because if the governor would have left us alone, we would have been a lot further than we were. And we got, and Madam Vice will probably kick me in the tail because she told me to keep moving, and I chose to take a back seat because I didn't want to cause any rift. But now I'm a rebel without a cause, because we're going to roll with it. And we don't care who gets mad at it. We're going to roll with it. And you didn't want us to have a digital focus program, but we have one now. So we're very proud of what's going on. Madam President, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hart, and thank you, Ms. Burgos, for your comments. Mr. Kyle Moore.
Acknowledge and approve.
And myself, Equita Washington, I acknowledge and approve. I just want to say thank you to Dr. Hart. Thank you to the technology and all the leadership team, and even the culture and climate team for taking it, for you guys understanding the importance of going out to do home visits to find out what is going on with the students and what's maybe going on with the parents in the home situation that they're not logging on, and understanding that, the digital divide is real in our communities and in urban America, and that any way that we can help our families and help our parents and our students as well, and squash the divide any way that we can do in our community. And that is a great way to do it as well, by going out and doing the home visits and personally connecting with our parents and our students and teaching them one-on-one on this is how you access the computer, this is how you access the programming, and this is how you do it, and here's who to call if you have any questions or comment. But in reiterating that, it's important that the students get on. So thank you all for that. And I do understand that as we go through this new process, there are going to be new things that pop up that we're going to address, and new concerns with anything new. So thank you and your team for always being on top of things, and definitely being on top of this to see that our students' needs are met and that we continue to move forward. And so with that, I'm going to move forward to our next agenda item. We have an update on the COVID-19 Emergency Management Prepare Plan.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I will defer to Ms. Annie Clark that will talk about our emergency management plan. I just want to say before I turn it over to Ms. Clark that there's been a lot of work that's been done around this plan from our special ed team coming in, and to the leadership team and food service. There's multifacets to this plan. Ms. Clark will talk to you about the plan, how the plan would move from one section to the next. We're now in a restorative plan looking towards next year, but when students come and parents and teachers come back, we are now in that process, and Ms. Clark will talk to that process. Ms. Clark, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Dr. Hart. Thank you, board. So, in the last board meeting, we talked about the preparedness plan and how really the advantage that Lincoln had early on was that our mayor and our city council and leaders brought us together and said that this was happening, that the state was going to be closing, and that we should get prepared. And at that point, we just continued to move forward, thinking about how we were going to continue to educate children. And so now we're maintaining. So right now we're in a status of maintaining what has been built. We don't expect the educators to keep going in and building. We want them to sort of just continue to, provide education. And now a lot of the work falls to the administration to do the things that Dr. Hart was talking about. The staff have already made phone calls. The interventionists have made phone calls. So now it's time for the leadership team to make phone calls, home visits, and dig a little bit deeper in what's going on with the families. Once we get past that, looking at the restorative plan, and everyone in leadership is looking at it, is sort of just having different scenarios. If we come back at the end of the year, what would that look like? If we come back July 1st for Roar for Learning, what does that look like? If we come back in mid-August, what does that look like? What does it look like if we don't necessarily come back in October? So those are the conversations we're having, and truthfully, that's something that you couldn't have in isolation. Everybody has to be part of that conversation because it affects everybody's work. So that's where we're at right now. And all those items are available in the preparedness folder in that drive that you have access to on Google. So the new work we're doing is also in there. So as we're developing stuff, you're seeing it in real time. You don't have to feel like you have to wait for us. You can go into the drive and anytime and shoot us questions. If something comes to your mind, did we think of, or did you think of, just send it to us, because maybe we didn't think of it. And you could help us, maybe you think of something we don't. Do you have any questions about where we're at with this stage?
Ms. Clark, at this time, Ariel's going to share the actual preparedness plan with the team. Can you just discuss how we got from one plan to the next, and why it is important to move from one plan to the next, and what the actual restorative plan will do for us when we return?
What we did was we actually went and did some research on natural disasters, because there was really no plan for COVID-19 because we hadn't had it. So what we used just plans that were developed for natural disasters like tornadoes or things like that. And it really walked educational institutions through the steps. So reacting and being prepared. And then we're in a maintenance stage right now. We're digging a little bit deeper. But the next part is really turning our thinking to what comes next. So that's safety, that's health. Some of the things that we're going to be looking at that are a little cutting edge is doing a square footage analysis of our building and our secondary building, and looking at per pupil like ratio. Like right now we're a 1-to-14 ratio if you count enrichment and interventionists. So really understanding how all of this is going to work together in this new normal, because there's no guarantee that the state is going to allow classrooms to go back to 1-to-27. You know, or right now they're saying that you should have 36 square feet around you. So that really changes education. So if it just takes us through, you see the scenarios here. Thank you, Ariel. And it just, these are different questions we've listed up top. Mr. Dively and Ms. Sipe have a whole group of questions around academics that we're trying to answer. These are really about organizational concerns, you know, safety, health, things like that. You can just keep scrolling down. Ariel, so here's the different scenarios, and as you can see, we're starting to plug information in. What do the administrators do? What do the staff do? What do the parents do? What do the teachers do? So as we run these different scenarios, you can see that anybody can plug in, like you guys can go in yourselves, and if you see something that's missing, you can add that to this plan. You don't have to feel like you have to wait for us to do that, because the board should that. So it's just the different scenarios. I have them in different colors. Ariel, just scroll down a little bit further. So as we look at the educational component to it, what we'll look at here is, what does general ed need? What does SPED need? What does ELL need? And what does other? So we may look at some alternatives for those students at 50% who's not logging in. We might look for some alternatives to that, because technology might not be what they need. And then we're going to have to think, what is that? And we don't have those answers right now. And we may not have them for the next month until we see every parent, every child, and have every conversation on what's really going on. Was there anything covered?
Thank you, Mrs. Clark. I appreciate that.
Can I have the floor for a second?
Who is this? Who is
Ms.
that?
Burrows.
Oh, I have to go through and do the acknowledgments and approvals, and then at that time you can speak.
Okay.
Make your comment. And so as far as acknowledgement and approvals, Ms. Renita Franklin.
I acknowledge and approve, but I do have a question, Ms. Clark.
Yeah.
At the end, I know you made the statement in reference to how we would impact those students who have that may not have that ability to utilize the laptop properly, and or the parent. Mm-hmm. Do we just want to consider going back to paper utilities for them? Paper packets?
In some of the cases, we've already done that. Ms. Sipe has really taken that on. So as we're getting the names, if the parent prefers to use paper, then that is an option, and we've been delivering those and mailing those out. But we still have to have receipt that the work is being completed.
Correct.
So they have to take a picture of the work, and then they have to email it to the teacher. Some of the stuff that's going on is like parents have limited data plans, so that really can impact a parent on their ability to support. Internet is a big problem. The language barrier, I think, is probably the largest problem, that we have a high, Hispanic population. Mm-hmm. And even though we provide things in Spanish, just like Marie said, that sometimes they can't read it. And so it's really, the divide is real, and we're going to figure it out. If anybody can close the gap the most, it will be Lincoln. But we've never done these things before, so it has been challenging.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's been, if I may, Madam President, Madam Vice, as Ms. Clark stated, we're finding those gaps, identifying those gaps, and trying to close them the best way we can. Just today, you had some parents that said, "Can't you just send it to me in paper?" That's all you had to say. So, we have about 15 packets we have to mail out tomorrow, and drop off. Parents are coming to the school to pick up packets, but with the cross contamination, we would like them to mail them back, but then the CDC is saying you're not supposed to receive any mail and without contamination. So it's kind of tough for us to get it back. So now we ask them to take a picture and send it to the teacher just so we don't get the contamination. But Ms. Clark brought up a great idea. We're getting mail outside anyway, so why can't we just get the mail back? But there's a lot of other things that are in the COVID plan that I think the powers that be that are sitting up on the hill are not thinking of, that they're putting these, you don't want us to get cross-contaminated because you don't want a parent that could be contaminated with COVID to mail something back to us and then that cross-contamination, but we're getting mail from outside sources anyway. So there's a lot of other things that come into play. The reason why we just can't have parents mail it back, they have to take a picture, send it to the teacher. So we're fighting an uphill battle. We're realizing, as Ms. Clark said, and the rest of the team, we're going to get through it.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Hart. Thank you, Dr. Hart. Thank you, Mrs. Clark. Thank you, Renita. Ms. Julie Swope.
Yes, I acknowledge and approve.
Ms. Marie Burgos.
Hold on. I acknowledge and approve. I just want to make sure that access of the Google account, you guys use my AOL account, which is fine and dandy, but I really truly, to get into that AOL, I really would like my YCP account to be used so that I can have access then to that Google account.
Can you give us that account number, that account, Ariel?
My first initial, last name. So it's M. Burgos.
Miss Burgos, we can handle that offline.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ariel, and can you reach out to Ms. Burgos and assure that email address is then put it into the board email strand and update it so we can just email that way moving forward?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Burgos. Yes, ma'am.
Yep. Thank you, Ms. Burgos. Mr. Moore.
Acknowledge and approve.
And Aquina Washington, I acknowledge and approve. Moving along to our next agenda item, we have a review of the York City additional information request submission by Dr. Hart.
Thank you, Madam President. Please be advised that we have submitted the additional information to the York City School District. We received a listing of 12 questions. I emailed to the board prior of additional questions that they wanted. They wanted these questions on a Monday. We gave it to them on a Friday to assure that we gave it to them in timely enough fashion. But we have turned in that information and confirmed of receipt that they can receive it in a timely enough manner. This has been given to the governing board as information of the questions that they asked. This is questions that they had in reference to the charter and expansion that we turned into the York City School District in October. They also asked us for a list of questions in January, and they also asked us for these list of questions that they just presented to us a couple weeks ago. But I wanted to confirm with the board that everything was presented and turned in a timely enough fashion to the York City School Board. It was confirmed of receipt of Ms. Lulu Thomas, who is Director of Pupil Services and Charter Compliance for the York City School District, and it has confirmed. So I'd like to assure in the record that process was done in a timely fashion, done within the time frame, and confirmed by the York City School District as approved and received. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. Hart. And we'll go into our acknowledgement and approvals. And if anyone has any questions for Dr. Hart regarding the York City additional information that was requested for submission, Ms. Renita Franklin.
I acknowledge and approve, and thank you, Dr. Hart, for being expedient on that matter.
Thank you, Madam Vice. It was the team effort. The team really jumped in it. Like I said, I take no credit. I'm one man on this team, and I really want to say thank you to the team. They really came together, and we knocked we knocked it out within 2 days and got it back to them. So thank you, Madam Vice.
Ms. Julie Swope.
Yes, I acknowledge and approve, and thank you, team.
Ms. Marie Burgos.
Acknowledge and approve. Thank you.
Mr. Kyle Moore.
Thank you, everyone. Acknowledge and approve.
And I'm Aquina Washington. I acknowledge and I approve, and thank you, everyone, for your hard work, your dedication, and your ability to get this done in a timely manner.
Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, we will move along to our next item on the agenda. It is review of possible names for Lincoln Charter School Endowment and our holding company. I will give the floor to Dr. Hart and Mrs. Clark for further explanation.
Thank you, Madam President. Governing Board, I will defer to Ms. Clark, our assistant principal, that will talk to you the purpose of the endowment and the names that we came up with possible names to vote on in board resolution. Ms. Clark?
We've been spending the last couple of weeks doing some different research on the foundation, which is the best way to go. In the next board meeting, we will present to you guys 19 reasons to start a foundation and the 10 steps involved. But number one, of course, is to have a name. So the two names that we thought were great included the Lincoln Charter School Lions Love Foundation or the Lincoln Charter School Believe Foundation. In researching all the other foundations that schools have, and really almost every school in this area does have a foundation that supports it, the one key was they all used the school's name in the title of the new name, so that you knew that when you were giving to that organization, it was benefiting that particular school and not just education in general.
Yeah, good.
So
Thank you, Ms. Clark. I do appreciate that. So, what we'd like to also just to talk further about the endowment and the foundations. Charter schools cannot purchase or hold what they call assets not approval for students, meaning that we in prior board meeting we discussed about possibly purchasing the building. Unfortunately, we have to have an actual process for an endowment that will purchase the building on behalf of Lincoln Charter School. So the whole purpose of this endowment is to assure that, first of all, that we can go after those federal funds, those grants, those things that can support Lincoln Charter School. So a lot of things that are close to us because we are a school entity would not be close to the endowment. So a lot of those grants, those fundings that's out there, there are millions and millions of dollars that go untouched because no one goes for it. So this endowment will have a separate board outside of you guys. It will have its own operating process. We can, and myself as the CEO and executive director, I can serve on that board to govern it and help with the transition between Lincoln and the governing board. Also, but it's a good process for us to be able to purchase materials, purchase property, to go after those things and be able to raise money to support Lincoln Charter School as a whole. And that's why you see Lincoln Charter School in the name. We wanted to make sure I have the distinctiveness between Lincoln Charter School as the entity school and Lincoln Charter School as the foundation. So the team came up with the Lincoln Charter School Lions Love Foundation. I don't know who came up with that one, but I heard he was a very smart individual and I like it. But then we also came up with the other one, which was the Lincoln Charter School Believe Foundation, which is, we also talk about I believe, you believe, we believe in Lincoln Charter School. So we felt like both of them really encompasses what Lincoln Charter School is about, and we wanted to present them to the governing board as possible recommendations for our foundation, and we will hope that you would choose one of these in tonight's board meeting, read it into resolution, so we can move forward with applying for the 501c3 and getting that process going, so we are in a position to move Lincoln Charter School forward. Whether we get the expansion or not, it is a process that we need in order to move forward with making sure that Lincoln is viable and valuable outside of just the walls of 559 West King. Madam President, you now have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hart, and thank you, Mrs. Clark, for the explanation of our endowment and the purposes of it and how important it is as we move forward as Lincoln Charter School and as we expand to do new and wonderful, great things, not only just for our students and families, but for our community as a whole. I will go through for acknowledgments and approvals. Ms. Renita Franklin.
I acknowledge and approve, though I do like the Lincoln Believe, but yeah, okay, even for that awesome guy.
Madam President, as you go through, they can vote on which one, and it will tally at the end. So Ms. Franklin has confirmed that she chose the Believe Foundation as her choice. So each board member can vote when there's a will tally up, and whichever one you guys come up with is what you have come up with. The administration has to abstain because we are the school entity and you're the governing board.
Thank you. Miss Julie Swope?
Hi, can you present those choices again, please?
Yes, ma'am. We have the Lincoln Charter School Lions Love Foundation and the Lincoln Charter School Believe Foundation.
Oh, Lincoln Charter School Believe Foundation.
Thank you. Next, I have Miss Marie Burgos.
I acknowledge. Okay, I acknowledge and I also approve. And between the two of them, I'm going to go with the believe, even though love is beautiful. But we have to believe in ourselves before we really and truly believe that we can actually love ourselves.
Thank you, Miss Burgos. Next, we have Mr. Moore, Mr. Kyle Moore.
Acknowledge and approve and believe. I believe I can fly. That's our theme song.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. And
I believe I can touch the sky.
There you go.
Oh,
Especially when I'm drinking this wine.
And I'm a Queen of Washington, and I acknowledge and I approve, and I go with Lincoln Charter School Believe Foundation.
Yay!
Yay! There you have it. Sorry, Dr. Hart.
So, Madam President, please be advised that in the board resolution, that it will be it resolved to approve the Lincoln, be it resolved to approve the name of the Lincoln Charter School Foundation Endowment as the Lincoln Charter School Believe Foundation. It will be read into record as that.
Dr. Hart.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that an additional item to be added to the agenda, or is that there?
That's an additional item added to the agenda.
Okay, that's what I thought. So that'll be added on as number 6.
Yes, ma'am.
One second.
No problem.
Taking notes. Okay. The next item that we have up for discussion in our discussion items and new business is a review and update of the Bent Creek policy and procedures. We have Tom and Dr. Hart to present that to us this evening.
Yes, ma'am, Madam President. Please be advised, Governing Board, Madam President, Madam Vice, that there will be a change. It said Tom Taylor, but it should be Ms. Smith, who is our HR director, that will come to you to talk about the Bent Creek policies and procedures. I will defer to Ms. Smith at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. The floor is yours. Mrs. Smith, the floor is yours. Mrs. Smith,
Yes,
are you still there?
Hear me? Yes, I'm
now
here.
We can. Now we can.
Okay. Little technical difficulties.
Ms. Smith, you have to turn your camera on to confirm.
Sorry, technical difficulties. Good evening again, Governing Board. Just providing an update to the board regarding information that was shared with you all and approved by the board in the February board meeting. As you know, we have started the process of working with the organization board docs in an effort to make sure that Lincoln Charter School has established policies mandated by the state. Of course, we learned some time ago that some policies are mandated, and as a charter school, we have some that are optional. So we started that process, and as I said, you all approved that with board docs. As we started on the process of this this journey, we realized that we needed to work with another organization. The umbrella is under School Board Association. With us being a charter school, we were unable to establish a contract the School Board Association. However, they have a subsidiary company entitled Bent Creek Educational Services. And that is the company myself, Dr. Hart, and Vanessa Cuthek, our business manager, were able to participate in a demo with Bent Creek Educational Services. This organization has helped, and they work with charter schools in the process of making sure any of those policies that have not already been established, that are mandated, to assist charter schools with that process. So that's where we are now. And we completed the demo. It was very detailed and what needed to be done. So that's just an update for you all, that, to let you know that we're continuing in that process. The first section of policies that is recommended for us to work on, the section is board policies. So you all will be an intricate part of reviewing the board policies, making updates, making recommendations, and usually will operate moving forward in committees. But the board policies committee, of course, will be established by the board. And then the other headings or sections of the policies, committees will be established based on the specific policies. So that's the update.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith.
You're welcome.
Madam
Dr.
President, Madam President, may I have the floor?
Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. As Mrs. Smith stated, that the board docs are a very intricate part as we move into expanding our organization. We have to expand our policies and procedures into our new process as far as expansion, building B, and just to update our policies. It's good common practice to look at your policies and procedures every 1 to 2 years to make sure that you stay updated. This process will assure that we remain updated with not just our local policies, but our federal policies, our state policies, not just charter policies. So we want to make sure that we stay conducive with what the district levels are doing, so we remain consistent and compliant as a district, because we do operate as a district. The fortunate part is that charter law governs us by these laws, rules, and procedures, but there are federal laws that we as a program must abide by, ensure that we still have. So, we haven't really looked at this process since Edison. We have to look at our bylaws, making sure our bylaws are updated. So this process is just to make sure that we're conducive with what 2020 bylaws, rules, policies, and procedures are updated. And this keeps us going to make sure that we are conducive with policies going forward. And not just operational policies, but instructional policies. And it's very extensive. So get ready for some long nights, because, you're talking about policies that are 30, 40 pages long that we have to look at, segregate, vote on, make sure it says what we want it to say, because each policy and procedure fits that organization. So what may go for quote unquote Yorks or York City may not be conducive to Lincoln. But there are some things that are uniform, that uniformity across the board as far as the way policies and procedures go. So it's going to be a long process, a lot of small committees. Meeting the leadership team is going to split up. The board's going to probably have to split up, take these policies and procedures and work in these small committees in order to get these board approved, because it has to go in front of you as a governing board, voted on, approved, and accepted. So our solicitor bill may go up extensively because it has to go to her to make sure that she approves. So we have to make sure that we are governing those policies, rules, and procedures correctly. So thank you, Ms. Smith, Ms. Cusack, for the governing board for the work, and the leadership team for the work that you're going to do, because it's going to take a team effort from Ms. Ellingson and Special Ed, Ms. Hawkins, culture and climate. It goes the gamut. So it's going to be a lot of work to be done, and we look forward to the process and making sure that we stay valuable. But it was emailed to you guys. We did put in, we did have it, and we're going to go forward with it. It was voted prior to the board. We just wanted to give an update because we didn't want you to see something on the expenditure report, because it is an expense, and not know where it came from. But that's what the Benhurst, because we thought that the board docs, that was it, but now there's an additional cost to someone else that assure that the federal mandates and everything else on another level is done. So there's one company that holds it and assures that one company is assured to keep up with the mandates and things of that sort. So we wanted to have the whole gamut and make sure that and this is common practice across the country. So thank you to the team. We appreciate you. Madam President, you now have the floor.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hart. Thank you, Mrs. Smith. I know this is it is going to be a lot of work, but it is something that is much needed. And I'm pretty sure all of us are ready to roll our sleeves up and dig in deep and some long nights and long hours, but it is much needed, and it's time for a update of our board policies, our manuals, and things of that sort. And I love that, when you shared it with us at our last board meeting, that, everything is digital and we'll be able to pull up everything that way and by subtitles and things of that sort. So we don't have to go through a book. We can have it a hard copy, but then we can go online and access it easily and not have to flip through pages or anything like that. So thank you to Ms. Smith, her team, you, Dr. Hart, as well as your administration team for your hard work on that and getting that process underway. And so we'll do it.
We appreciate it. Madam President, please be advised, Ms. Neal, this will also help with you as well, because all of everything that we do will be done on this platform. So all of the principal reports and all of our board minutes, everything, it goes directly to this platform. So you'll be working directly out of that platform. So this will assist you in your roles, duties, and responsibilities, making sure that those things stay in that role as well. Am I right, Ms. Smith?
You are correct. During our demo, the demo that myself, Mr. Hart, and Ms. Cusack participated in, probably the third step in this process will include training for the board secretary and those staff members who will have access, and board members in addition, that will have access or the need to work throughout that program.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Smith. Okay, so we'll go through our acknowledgments and our approvals. Ms. Renita Franklin.
I acknowledge and approve. Thank you.
Ms. Julie Swope.
Yep, my sleeves are rolled up. Acknowledge and approve.
Ms. Marie Burgos.
I absolutely acknowledge and I thank the group and I approve.
Thank you. Mr. Kyle Moore.
Acknowledge and approve.
And Aquina Washington. Who is that? This is Aquina Washington, and I acknowledge and I approve. We will move along to our next agenda item. That is our virtual graduation and key ceremony to be held June 10th, 2020 from 6 to 7 p.m. I will hand this over to Mrs. Clark and Dr. Hart.
Thank you, Madam President. I will defer to my colleague, Ms. Clark, that will talk to you about the virtual graduation that the team came up with. And new to the process is a key ceremony that will help celebrate our opening of our new expansion and hopefully in making sure that we have the passing of the torch. And Ms. Clark will explain to you that process. Ms. Clark, you now have the floor.
So we're very excited to be having our first virtual promotion ceremony. This will involve maybe the addition that we didn't have before is that we did order cap and gowns for all of the 5th grade students because they can't be there in person. So I'm excited about that because I wanted that for sure. We met with the 5th grade team today. They're going to be pushing notifications out to the students beginning tomorrow. Next Wednesday, myself, Dr. Hart, and the site, the team will be having a meeting with all the 5th grade students with Zoom to tell them that they need to be online doing their schoolwork if they plan on participating in the program. So the idea is that all the students would be in their cap and gowns at home on Zoom, and then the leadership team would actually be in the school, and we would go through the entire program as we always do with the individual awards, all the students being recognized, and then we will just mail everything to them. What other questions do you have, or Dr. Hart, do you have any other comments on it?
Ms. Clark, you want to talk about the key ceremony?
The key ceremony is new because of the expansion. The 4th graders won't have promotion. So that from now on, the 4th graders who are leaving Lincoln Charter School will present a key to the third graders to take over Campus A. And so the fourth graders did join as the fourth grade team joined the fifth grade team on a Zoom call today with myself and Dr. Hart, and they were very excited. So the two teams were excited to hear these new things, and fourth grade volunteered to come and support in fifth grade any way they could, handing out gowns, taking pictures, whatever it takes to get it done.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Governing board, as we always say, the saying goes that adversity dictates agenda. I was kicking and screaming about these cap and gowns because I wanted the students to actually earn to it. I wanted them to have something to look forward to as they got to high school and things of that sort. But through adversity, it dictates our agenda. Unfortunately, these students are faced with a lot of adversity with the COVID-19 pandemic, so we wanted to give them something to remember. But we wanted to start some new traditions as well with the expansion. We wanted to make sure that we celebrate those students and have a passing of the torch type thing of understanding that the fourth graders now become part of the middle school. They won't get that celebration. So to start a new tradition, the team came up with the Key Foundation. It's a pretty big key we want to give them, that the fourth graders will be able to give it to the third graders and say, you guys now run Lincoln. We are stepping out of here, and now you guys have it. You guys have the fourth graders running the school type thing. But we've had the cap and gowns on order. The boys will be wearing navy, and the girls will be wearing right, Ms. Clark?
That is correct.
And then the leadership team will be in. We haven't figured out what we're going to wear our regalia or not. My doctoral regalia is probably 15 sizes big because that's when I was like this. So we don't know what we're going to wear quite yet. We might just put our cap and gowns on my tam or something and go from there. But we really wanted to celebrate our students, give them a chance to say, we appreciate it. We haven't figured out the ultimate details, whether we want to go to the students' houses or still do it virtually. But we want to do a special gift to them and say, hey, we appreciate you. We know you're going through this trying time, but we wanted to celebrate you. So the team is really excited in looking at the virtual graduation. And Miss Franklin has been kicking and screaming with these cap and gowns. And I found out that you guys now have the cap and gowns for the graduating class. And
COVID.
Yeah, because of COVID. Yeah. So, Madam President, you now have the floor. Thank you, Ms. Clark. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Clark and Dr. Hart. Those are wonderful ideals. I love the key ceremony and the passing of the torch. That is awesome. Okay, so we'll just go through acknowledgement and approval. Ms. Renita Franklin.
I agree, concur, approve. Thank you. These are our children, and making memories, everlasting memories, giving them something to look forward to for tomorrow, despite all of the adversities we're facing. We have to tough through this as they can see us do it, so they can move on. So thank you.
Miss Julie Swope.
I most indubitably agree, acknowledge, approve, and my dog Lucky does too.
Great. Miss Marie Burgos.
I absolutely acknowledge and approve. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Mr. Kyle Moore.
Acknowledge and approve. Great work, everyone. I'm impressed. Thank you.
Aquina Washington, I acknowledge and I approve. Thank you all so much.
Madam President, please be advised that this must go in as a resolution as item 7 to approve the virtual graduation and key ceremony for Lincoln Charter School for the 2020 celebration.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hart. I'm making that notation.
Okay, because this is an added expense that was not budgeted in the current budget. This is a new expense. So when you see it on the report as an expense, this is a new expense that was not budgeted. But we do have the funding in order to make this happen. But I wanted to go on the record that it was approved by the board for us to have this virtual graduation and key ceremony. So when you see those budget implications, and I talked to Ms. Cusack about the purchases and the POs, that we know it was approved by the board.
Thank you, Dr. Hart. Okay, moving along to our next agenda item, we have hazard pay for COVID-19 on-site workers, and that is Dr. Hart. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Governing Board. I do appreciate you. Thank you for allowing me to address you at this time. Let me first say that this has been a very trying time for us all. You guys as board members, some of you as parents of our students, and just members, just citizens of the world. This is a very trying time. We have individuals who are dying around us from this pandemic, from this disease that has infected our country, has affected York. If you remember, York didn't have not one confirmed case, and we went from one confirmed case until next you know it just blew up. I've lost a lot of close friends to this pandemic, and being an individual that has a compromised immune system, it's very scary to operate and assure that to just go through life and just assure that things keep going on. But I must say that as the principal and CEO of this organization, I am very proud of the leadership team that you guys have assembled in us. Myself as the principal and CEO and the whole entire leadership team, as far that some of us who are still coming into the building every day, feeding our families both breakfast and lunch, coming in the building to do home visits, coming in the building to assure that the business of the school continues to operate that cannot be done virtually. Some things have to be done on site, in the building, on the ground, hitting the pavement. As you have seen, have not made this mandatory. There are some of us who have chosen that this is not a risk they're willing to take, but there's some of us who have willing to take this risk. So at this time, I come to the governing board that will allow me to enact hazardous pay for these individuals who have enacted to come out and work on the work of Lincoln Charter School, in addition to outside of their normal pay, to be paid at the end of the school year, which would be the June 10th payroll, which is an off-payroll cycle. The June 12th payroll, which is an off-payroll cycle. But I am asking for the governing board to allow me to come up with a process, which I have. There are 4 sections to this process. The 4 sections to this process are individuals who have worked the minimum of 2 to 3 weeks. Those individuals, when we first started this process, they were there mailing out packets, coming in, feeding. This is when we didn't know if schools were going to be closed or not. They came in every day. The governor had closed schools down, but we still had to make sure that the food program got up and running and things of that sort. So this is a group of individuals who came in the first 2 or 3 weeks. We have another individuals once we started to downscale, because if you notice, the individuals that could congregate went from 50 to 25. So we had to cut back. So when we cut back to another number, these were the individuals with 3 to 4 weeks. They came in that 3 to 4 weeks, and then when it went down from 25 to 10, we had to cut back again. So these are the individuals who went from the 4 to 5 weeks, and we have another scale for those individuals who have gone 6 weeks to 13 weeks of the end of the school year, which is another category. So there are 4 different categories: 2 to 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks, and 6 to 13 weeks are the various categories that we have. Each category has a different an amount attached to it, but I wanted the governing board to allow me to provide this hazardous pay for these individuals who have decided to go out and continue with the work of the school and keep things going. This also expands to our food service program. We reached out, Ms. Clark and I, to our food service program because we have 2 food service individuals, Ms. Jara Durham and Miss Azera Washington, which is our food service director, and our head cook, who come in every day to make sure that we don't only provide breakfast and lunch, but they're providing hot meals. We could have just did grab and go, which would have been easy, but they wanted to provide hot meals, so they come in and cook every day early as if school was opening to provide a hot meal, but not just our students, but for the community. Our buildings and grounds team have been out there every day, feeding the community, making sure we actually deliver meals and things of that sort. So there's a lot of things that we're doing to assure that we continue to keep the operation of the school going. So if the governing board would allow me to make that determination to allow these individuals to receive and hazard pay in acknowledgement of their willingness to come out and put themselves on the line to assure that Lincoln Charter School remains operational. governing board, that is my presentation at this time. At this time, Madam President, I will take any questions or recommendations from the board.
Thank you, Dr. Hart. And thank you to our staff that has been diligent to come in during this time, feeding our families, taking care of paperwork, answering the phone, taking care of technology, meeting with our parents, going out on home visits, cleaning up, sweeping, mopping, doing everything to ensure that we can meet and exceed the needs of our families as well as our community as well. In this process. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I know that I cannot say thank you enough, and I'm sure that our fellow board members, when they speak, will not be able to say thank you enough for at this time for coming in when you could be home, coming in to serve our community and serve our parents and our families. So I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate the work that you're doing. I appreciate your selflessness. It truly means a lot to me. Okay, so we'll go through our approvals and our acknowledgments. I just have one question for Dr. Hart. Dr. Hart, do you need me to place this for us to vote on?
Yes, ma'am, Madam President. This will be after the board confirms and acknowledges. This will go on as a resolution.
Thank you.
Lucky go see.
So, Ms. Renita Franklin.
Go ahead.
I acknowledge and approve 150%.
Thank you. Miss Julie Swope.
Yes, I acknowledge and approve 200%.
Oh, thank you. Miss Marie Burgos.
I absolutely acknowledge and approve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam
Mr.
President,
Cottle.
while I have the floor, I'd like to thank also to those board members who have come in to assist us in our process. Thank you guys. It's just been a big help. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Mr. Kyle Moore. You're welcome, Dr. Hart.
I just had a question. Was there in an email or something or a proposed amount that we would be providing as far as hazard pay?
No, sir. I did not put that in actual writing. I can go in executive session and talk about that if you like.
Yeah.
And that's why I have it as an executive session item that we can talk about once everyone logs off. If you would like to talk about it now.
Okay.
But,
I was just I thought I missed it, so I was just asking.
no, sir.
Yeah, I acknowledge and approve voting on this item. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Moore and Aquina Washington, and I acknowledge and I approve. I do notice that we do have included in that for executive session, we do have another item presentation by our principal and CEO in executive session. Dr. Hart, do you want to go through our other approvals, or do you want to go into executive session at this time?
No, ma'am, Madam President. At this time, there's no need to go into executive session unless the governing board see fit. I put it on as an item just in case the governing board wanted to go into executive sessions to discuss any items that we did not want to discuss in open forum. So I just put that on. But if the governing board does not see fit for us to go into executive session at this time, the administration leadership team rests, and we will just go on to approve those items and go on with the business of the board.
Okay, Mr. Kyle Moore, I believe that you want to go in executive session to discuss the proposed amount.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So, Dr. Hart, if we can go into a brief executive session to discuss the amounts for the proposed hazard pay for the COVID-19 on-site workers.
Yes, ma'am, we can. What we can do is we can go ahead with the resolution. We can go ahead with the, you can go with the resolution so everybody doesn't have to log on and log back in. We can go with the resolutions, approve those resolutions, go with old business, the principal report, the financial report, LPAC, solicitor's report. You can close the meeting, go out. We can go into executive session, and we have to allow everybody to log back in to go back into executive session to go back in to open the meeting, because once we go out to discuss the actual amounts, we have to come back in to vote it into an actual resolution.
Okay, that works for me. Okay, we will move to our move up in our agenda. For everyone, we will move to agenda item number 4, which is our approval of our board resolutions. We will begin with board resolution number 1, Be it resolved to approve the minutes from our April 2nd, 2020 board meeting. And I will do a roll call of everyone. Ms. Renita Franklin,
I make a motion to approve the board minutes.
Ms. Julie Swope,
Yep, I'll second it.
Ms. Marie Burgos,
Oh, yes.
Mr. Kyle Moore,
I approve.
and Aquina Washington, I approve. The motion carries. Number 2, be it resolved to accept the retirement of Denise Mundis, instructional coach, effective June 30th, 2020.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll
Now
second.
it's Julie Swope was so moved, and who was the second?
Marie.
I'll second. Marie.
And Marie Burgos was second. And as far as all in favor, I will go with Kyle Moore, Mr. Kyle Moore,
Approve.
Ms. Renita Franklin,
Approved.
so moved. Moving along to agenda item number 3. Be it resolved to accept the 2020-21. Be it resolved to accept the 2020-2021 school-wide budget as presented by Mr. Tom Taylor of Rapice and Taylor.
Make a motion to approve.
That was Renita
Second.
Franklin. Is there a second?
Second.
That was Miss Julie Swope as a second. As far as all in favor, Miss Marie Burgos,
Favor.
Mr. Kyle Moore,
Approve.
and Aquina Washington approve. So moved. Be it resolved to accept the 2020-2021 school-wide calendars.
Madam President, may I have the floor?
Yes, sir.
Madam President, before we go into the school-wide calendar approval, Ms. Christian Sipe has a presentation just to discuss the school-wide calendars and what we've done this year, along with Mr. Dowdy, to discuss what we did with the school-wide calendar. Mr. Carastillo, can you put the calendar up for review, please?
I have them, Ariel, if it's better, if I can just share.
Yep. Yep, that works if you want to go ahead and you can share that.
Maybe. All right. So let me just take a look here which one this is. So this is Campus B. This is Campus A. So if you take notice, historically we have had a half day on Thursdays, every other Thursday, and that was typically the first and third Thursday of the month. We have had to change it the past couple of years due to the fair being in September, but now that that's not an issue, we've kind of looked to jump to Friday for our half days, and those half day Fridays would be, as Ariel had spoken to you about, the virtual learning days. So what would happen on those days is teachers would do online virtual instruction inside the building and then would send the kids out with their devices, and they would be able to continue learning for the remainder of the time for the day. So that's just something, one of the things that we've looked at changing for next year. We did decide to go back to quarters instead of trimesters. So you'll notice that we do have more SLCs built in. So on this calendar, you'll see here November 5th is the first one where we run into an issue. We'd have to have a virtual board meeting that night because it would run with SLCs as well. So we'd have a virtual board meeting that night. We still have some time at Thanksgiving. So the day before Thanksgiving, we went ahead and built in a full day staff professional development day. The kids would all have off, giving families time to travel. December, solid 2 weeks at Christmas. I ask the board to think about, or just keep in mind that this unfortunately is going to have to be a working document, because we still are trying to get guidance from the state as to, you know, when school may start for the year, that type of thing. So we may have to do some virtual instruction in August and then come back in person in September. You know, we just don't know. So there may have to be some changes made to this calendar as the year progresses, but I think it's a fairly solid calendar. Campus A, we have starting at 8:15 till 3:30. Again, that can be changed if needed. Campus B, then the kids would hopefully drop siblings off at Lincoln by 8:15 to make their way down the street and be ready for class at 8:30. So, you know, like I said, it's a pretty comprehensive calendar, like we've always had, but just a few minor changes, like I said, with the half days being on Fridays instead of the Thursdays in most cases. But really, that was the biggest change that we would have for next year.
Thank you, Ms. Sype.
Madam President, may I have the floor?
Yes.
Please be advised that upon this resolution, that it's just approving the calendars as a tentative process, because as Ms. Sype stated, it may be a process where we may not, where the expansion is not approved, and we would just go with calendar A.